It's been less than 2 weeks since Sheikh Hasina's ouster from Bangladesh, and now she has come out and openly blamed the US for her resignation as well as her possible exile from the country. Sheikh Hasina had to resign earlier this month amid student protests, which led to the killing of hundreds of students in Bangladesh. Now, I've talked more about the student protests in Bangladesh and the resignation of Sheikh Hasina in this video here. Now, if you're interested in watching this video, you can click the link in the description and watch that video. Now, on the face of it, the entire world saw the student protests, the brutal student protests in Bangladesh that actually led to hundreds of students losing their lives, possibly over 1,000 students unofficially, until the resignation of Sheikh Hasina. Now, even after Sheikh Hasina's resignation, the conditions in Bangladesh, they have not improved. There have been ongoing violence against minorities, specifically Hindus. Even the UN has come out and condemned the violence against Bangladeshi Hindus, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also tweeted it out when he was congratulating interim chief advisor of Bangladesh, Mohammad Yunus. He appealed to him that Mohammad Yunus should actually look into the matter and bring an end to the violence against Hindus. All in all, the situation in Bangladesh, it has not improved. It has just shifted from one issue to another issue at this point of time. Now, I'm not blaming or I'm not saying that it is the same protesters that actually were participating in the student protests, but there are certainly anti-minority, specifically anti-Hindu elements in Bangladesh that actually have taken advantage of the situation to spew hatred against Hindus. Now, obviously, that matter needs to be solved at the earliest. With that being said, Sheikh Hasina has said that had she remained in power, things could have gotten even worse because the US would have used their influence over the student protests against her to a larger extent. So this was the best decision she could have taken at that point of time. Now, it is also important to note that the US has revoked her visa, and even the UK at this point of time has not agreed to provide asylum to Sheikh Hasina. So Sheikh Hasina's future at this point of time, it is not clear. She earlier wanted to seek asylum in the UK, but that is not looking a possible solution at this point of time, and she cannot stay in India forever as well. Now, before resigning and fleeing the country, and even before the student protests, Sheikh Hasina actually hinted that a larger country, a bigger country, actually wanted a military base in Bangladesh, and that if the Bangladeshi government refused, then that bigger country would actually create another country between Bangladesh and Myanmar. Now, even though Sheikh Hasina at that point of time, she was hinting at this bigger country, she did not openly name the US. But just a few days after her resignation, she openly said that the US actually wanted Bangladesh's Saint Martin Island, which is located between Bangladesh and Myanmar. Now, this particular island, it was also at some point disputed, but it was later confirmed that this island belonged to Bangladesh. Now, Sheikh Hasina has said that the US actually wanted this particular island to exercise greater influence over the Bay of Bengal region, and that if Sheikh Hasina had agreed to surrender the sovereignty of this Bangladeshi island, then she would have still remained in power. And she also went on to say that the student protests in Bangladesh, they were actually a part of a broader strategy of the US to actually come out and create a Christian nation by merging parts of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Now, at this point, two important questions arise. Now, first, why did Sheikh Hasina let the student protests escalate if she knew all along that the US could influence its power to get Sheikh Hasina out of power, to get her to resign from her position? Why did she not resolve the student protest earlier? And second, why did she not name the US and its plan to get her out of power? Now, as for the first question, we cannot be certain as to why Sheikh Hasina let the student protests escalate to such an extent, which actually turned out violent. The student protests, they actually started off peacefully and then turned violent once the police started attacking the students. If Sheikh Hasina knew all along that the US could be involved and influence the student protests, she could have taken that action earlier. She could have talked to the students. She could have actually made an attempt to solve the student protest and their demands earlier, which eventually she had to give in to. She had to listen to the demands. She had to get the job quota removed. She could have done all of that earlier, not only to save her power, not only to remain in power in Bangladesh, but also to save the lives of hundreds of students. Or at least she could have informed that the US was actually planning to get her removed. But it is easier said than done, and she may even wanted to share that earlier. In fact, she actually wanted to address this issue before her resignation. She wanted to address the Bangladeshi public that the US wanted Saint Martin Island in order to establish their military base in Bangladesh, and that she refused the demands of the US, and that actually led to the collapse of Awami League and her power. Now, we can argue about the legitimacy of Sheikh Hasina's words, because Sheikh Hasina was also accused several times by the opposition of rigging elections in Bangladesh to remain in power. And there was also a growing discontentment amongst the general public regarding Sheikh Hasina. But it is also worth noting that the US actually wanted a regime change in Bangladesh. The US was not happy with Sheikh Hasina. And even after elections in Bangladesh, the US said that the elections were not free and fair. As for the second question, why did she not openly name the US when she was in power? Now, it is possible that if she had named the US earlier, if she had openly come out and said that the US was planning something out to get her removed from power, then it is possible that the US would have taken that action earlier. And we can take an example of former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. He came out and openly said that the US was involved in Pakistani politics, and we can see how it turned out for him. He's still in jail, and he could be in jail for a longer period of time. His party was dismantled. So it is possible that Sheikh Hasina did not want to do that because of whatever happened with Imran Khan. But here's also another important question. Why would the US want Bangladesh's Saint Martin Island? Well, to gain influence in the Bay of Bengal region, to keep a check on China, Myanmar, and even India, but more so on the relationship between Myanmar and China. And we know that Myanmar at this point of time is a military dictatorship, and Myanmar is also put under several sanctions by the Western nations. At the same time, the US knows the growing distance between Bangladesh and Myanmar. So the US could actually take advantage of the current situation in Bangladesh and take control of Saint Martin Island anytime soon, if we go by the words of Sheikh Hasina. And there could also be a possibility of a conflict between Bangladesh and Myanmar in the future, which again the US could take advantage of. Sheikh Hasina has also said that she plans to return to Bangladesh and get involved in the upcoming elections. And even her son said that he also wants to go back and become a politician. With that being said, what do you think about the legitimacy of Sheikh Hasina's words? Do you think that the US was actually involved in her ouster from the country? Or do you think that it was purely the student protests and the growing discontentment amongst the general public in Bangladesh that led to her resignation? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you found this video valuable, please share this video with your friends and family, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day.